Hello and welcome back to Tenderfoot Farms. You can see part of my garden for this year. I've just disked in the oats and the winter peas. Austrian winter peas to be specific. You can see them there. I planted oats and winter peas last fall to serve as a cover crop. Put some nitrogen in the ground and some biomatter. Help it keep the ground from being quite so hard. You can also see that I've got part of it that I haven't disked in yet. I'm going to wait a week or two so that it can grow some more organic material here, and so it'll get a little taller, and I'll disk this in a couple of weeks. Only part of my garden needs to be planted right now, or well, soon. It's April 5th today, and our last frost date is April 15th. So I've disked this in today. I'll wait a week and then do it again, and then one more week and I'll disk it a third time before we plant. And that's just because it's not going to get fully killed this way, and some of it will regrow. So here you can see some of the oats and the winter peas mixed together for my cover crop. And you can see that the oats are just in the milk stage. I don't actually want them to reseed themselves, and that's why I'm tilling them in, disking them in. And then this is what it looks like after the discs have gone over them one time. This will make a good cover crop for this year. I planted these last year in October, and now it's April the 20th. I disked in the first half of the garden a couple of weeks ago so that I can plant my early stuff. That's why it's all nice and dead and mixed in. Now I'm doing this, and so the warm season crops, I'll plant them in a couple more weeks after I've disked this a few more times to get it into the ground good. Here we go again. I know this might make some farmers cry, but over the winter I had a cover crop of wheat in this garden, and right now I'm mowing it down in preparation for being able to disc it. And if I don't, then it'll wrap around the discs and make it extra hard to get into the ground. I put this on the ground as a cover crop to keep the ground from being muddy during the winter, and also to return some nitrogen into the soil. This garden is going to sit idle all year. As soon as I disc this in, I'm going to plant another cover crop of cowpeas, which are the generic name for black-eyed peas, and I'll let them grow. They're a legume, and so they'll put nitrogen into the soil. You see my tractor there. My other garden, I just had a cover crop over the winter, and I'm planting in it. I've got some video that I'll add in here about what we're planting. I'm about to disc in the other half of it today. This garden is a 1/4 acre, and I planted a 50-pound bag of seed wheat, which for some nitrogen for the whole garden only cost me about $16. I'm disking these into the field before they even reach the milk stage. And so by mowing them before they're viable seed, you can see there's nothing really in there. Get that in focus. There's nothing really in those seeds yet. They're not even really to the milk stage. And so by mowing them now, I can be sure that they won't become a weed, and they'll get killed by mowing and disking them into the field. There you go. My 1/4 acre garden is ready for disking. And some additional cover crop. This time it'll be cowpeas for the summer. So I finished one pass of disking the field, the quarter-acre garden, and you can see that the ground is pretty hard, and disking it hasn't done a whole lot. It's really only disturbed the top inch or two. Some of the roots have been disturbed, but a lot of them are still stuck in the ground. And so I'm gonna have to go over it several more times. We got really nice moisture though. It's not too muddy, holds in a ball, but it's not making clods. So it's just about right. But I've only been gardening in this area for 4 years, and the ground's just not very good quality. So I'm gonna disc it a couple more times. Get this organic matter, the cover crop, turned into the field. Get it underneath the ground and mixed in real good. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but I've disked it another time. This time I went perpendicular to the direction that I disked it last time, and do a little better job of mixing in the dirt, mixing in the field. You can see that this is all soft. It's all even. All the roots have been taken up and cut off. It's only soft about 3 inches down though. Let me show you out here. Discs are actually kind of hard on your field because they scalp the ground in a horizontal plane and they leave it fairly hard underneath. But they're really good for incorporating lots of rough organic matter. So I'm going to disc this one more time. Each time I do it, the discs go down deeper into the ground. And you can see that I've got them set at a pretty aggressive angle. How they're toothed discs, and I've got the X angle here in between them fairly steep. That helps them cut into hard ground, and they're pretty aggressive that way. If my dirt was softer, I could make the angle on my X a little more gradual for each of the gangs of discs. So I'm going to do this one more time. And then I'll let it sit for a few days, get a rainstorm in it, let it dry back out again, and then I'll start to actually turn in some seeds. So I just finished disking the field for a third time. You can see that the wheat has been incorporated into the soil better. This time I went back again the opposite direction. It's nice and fluffy, and it'll be great. I'll give this wheat a few days to die down, turn brown. It'll help it last longer in the soil if it's not green when I finish turning it in. And you can also see though that the rows of mowing debris caused by my bush hog are very persistent. Even though they've been mowed 3 times or disked 3 times in 2 different directions, they still look like rows of organic material, even though it's very thoroughly chopped up and it's been run through the discs multiple times. But the ground's starting to look really flat. This will be really good after it gets a few more days to turn brown, and next time I do this I may run the chisel plow through it just to break up some of that hard packed ground that's underneath where the discs scrape the ground horizontally. But it's looking really good. Now I got to go work on the other garden before it gets too dark. Of course my tractor's got really nice bright lights, so I can work in the dark if I need to. Down there past our tractor implements, you can see part of our orchard. Maybe I'll do a video about that someday. Just a little side note about our potatoes. I planted seed potatoes the last week of February this year, which is just about the right time. And you can see that some of them are growing, which is good. But today is April the 30th, so they've been in the ground for 2 whole months. You can also see that some of them are little tiny babies, just barely coming out in the last day or two. Here's one. And then some of their neighbors are big. Our spring this year has been very strange. It's been extra cold. This morning, April 30th, we had a light frost just on the roofs of the cars. And we've also had an enormous amount of rain. In March, we had over 11 inches. In April, we had 8.8 inches, both of which are way above our normal here in Zone 7A, North Alabama. And that really cold, wet spring has really played havoc with how well our potatoes have been coming up. But we've been patient and they are starting to appear, so I'm feeling better about it than I was earlier. Okay, back to disking the garden. It's starting to get dark, so I've got the bright lights out on the tractor. I can keep going even in the pitch black. It's awesome. Just finishing up as it starts to get dark. Just finishing up as it starts to get dark. Let's see how well our disking is doing. Look at that. Soft and fluffy. Lots of organic material. I'll disc this one more time after it's had a little bit of chance to dry out some more. Might even run the chisel plow over it. We'll see. But it's looking real good. This garden had a winter cover crop of oats and winter peas. So it's a little different than the wheat that we had earlier in the northeast garden. Pretty awesome. It's looking great. This part of the garden I'll get cow peas, green beans, tomatoes, peppers, watermelon, all kinds of things in it. This part over here that I didn't disc, you can see some of my hills. I planted this last week with all kinds of cucumbers, cantaloupe, some sweet potatoes, all kinds of things. Pickling cucumbers, it would be great. Hopefully we didn't get too much rain. We got 3 inches of rain after I planted this last week. So it's kind of crusted over. I'm gonna water it tonight to help out with that. That's all for now. We'll see you next time at Tenderfoot Farms.